Hi everyone, today I'm painting a winter scene and I'm a little bit cheating. I'm painting from my window and it's only a small sketch. I'm actually separated it in 4 parts and I want to do small sketches. So we'll see how it goes. So I'll better dive into it. So I'm mixing my sky at this point. So I don't know if you'll see my palette maybe. So the sky is very light. So and I'm going to use hopefully more thinner paint to start from with this bristle brush. So you can see I'm doing my sky first. That's my lightest and it's going to be actually my main, how to say, the lightest light part of the painting. So I could compare the values of that. So I just can see slightly mountains at the back, but I'm going to just kind of, yeah, I'm lucky to see some mountains from my window. So, and I pre-drawed some figures, so I'm going to just indicate mountains over there. They're not really obvious, but I'm using some purple, so it's ultramarine and alizarin, and then I'm adding tiny touch of brown, more alizarin, so they're light but they're not bright, but they're kind of on cooler side. So I'm making a complex mixture just to indicate them for now. I may change later. That's too dark, I guess, so I'm going to make it lighter. Yeah, so there will be some lighter highlights later, but right now I'm just doing kind of a line there because you can hardly see them. It's not hugely good visibility, because the main thing I'm painting like more like a roofs and little gradation of things I see on horizon line. So I put some paint that's different for me. It's a paint gray, so this will help me, and I'm adding a little bit of kind of greenish bluish colors in it, some viridian, some blue, to see what will come out of it. So I can see some trees on horizon line. Again, this is just indication, making it a little lighter. Some of the trees at the back like really gray, some kind of smudging it in the horizon line. The main thing, my target was to actually to see how values will work with gradation on horizon line. So, and then I just see some indication of the roofs over there, so they're not really, like some of them behind the trees, some of them blue, some of them white because it's a lot of snow, and so some of the shadows. So I'm kind of doing it like this for now, and I'm still using my bristle brush, and I'm using that kind of brush I'm using. It's I made it out of flat. I made my own filbert because I was just scrubbing with it, so that's like this. So I'll continue scrubbing in. I call it scrubbing in, so there is more obvious kind of now objects in there, and they're a little warmer because they're a little closer. So I'm trying to use mix of brown, yellow, ochre, still a little bit of blue because they're not the closest objects. And again, I can see some trees coming out more and some trees less. And there are some pines, there are some other trees. So the pines, I'm going for probably this paint gray and some viridian. Paint gray is kind of on bluish side, so I'll try to see how that will work. So this is a tree that not the close, they're kind of in the second line, but some of them are quite dark. I can see the dark part. So I'm using this paint gray again, paint gray in viridian. I'm not sure if you see my palette quite well, how I put it, but I'm trying to get better. So this dark indication is like really big tree. So I'm going to mass in that tree. And then again there are brown grayish trees around it. One tree is very light and very brown. So I'm adding white to those mixtures, of course. And then I will be trying to add some whites in between. So these are my roofs of the houses that are the closest to me. So I'm going to use some fresh white with maybe a touch of yellow and tiny touch of colored red light. So actually this is, in comparison to sky, this is one of the also lightest elements in my painting. So I'll do this roof, and I can see it's kind of pinky golden on top. So I'm adding cadmium yellow deep. Oh, that my brush is dirty as well. So the other roof, somewhere in between these two trees, is a little lighter, very light in the. So I'm just kind of indicating these, the same as I do in my other paintings. I'm kind of doing with the bristle brush first. This is more bluish because there is a shadow falling on it, so I'm using white and using some ultramarine and alizarin like I did before. So, and I'm feeling like this brush on this small painting doesn't really pick as much as I would like it. So I think I'm going to switch very shortly to different brush, but I just want to do these trees in front. So these trees in front, the pine trees, adding more green to my brown mixture and still more blue because it's cool in the shadow. And this tree kind of goes all over the place and has some snow actually on it. So, and this tree goes also with the two pines that kind of how to say bent by the wind, and that's why they're not very straight. And then I have just indication of the tree on this side as well. Again, using a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue, and a little bit of green. Just to indicate the tree for now. I may work on it. And now I'm going to paint the house. So I'm trying to squint. It's kind of very strange color, so kind of dirty pink color. So I'm going to do alizarin, yellow ochre, some brown, and maybe some blue just to tone it down a little, and just to see. Actually, it's very it's cool color. So I have some gray mix here. Let me try this gray mix if it will work. Yeah, I think that's kind of color for this house. It's not very, and it's a little darker on this side. So I'm adding more blue. That's the house. And this very dark area. Should have cleaned my brush really, but I'm just trying to mass in. So condition, it's more like a plein air painting. You're just trying to mass in so the condition wouldn't change. The house next to it is even darker. So So I'm going to do more brown and blue. Looks like I'm using lots of brown and blue. Yeah, because it's winter shadows. So. But the main thing to see the difference between the different variations of these colors. So I'm doing this, massing it a little, and then this is a little lighter side of this house. Yeah, there is another tree there, but it's kind of warmer tree. It's in the light and it's warm. So I'm going to mass this tree in. I can only see just the end of it. Okay, so I'm finishing with my bristle brush because it's really doesn't pick much. I'm going to take my other brush that is going to be softer but not still small. So I'm going to start from where I started with the bigger brush. So I'm going to define the sky a little. It's a little lighter here, so at horizon line. So I'm going to use some cad yellow deep and some that blue color. So I'm going to make it a tiny bit warmer. Horizon line. And actually, because I did already warm pre-toning of the canvas with transparent red oxide, it's kind of shows through. So, and I want to make it a little lighter, touch lighter. And then I'm going to do a little bit on the mountains. So some mountains are really, really white over there. So I'm going to indicate some shadows. So like some ridges on the mountains. You don't see them quite well, but they're there. So I'm just going to do a little bit of indication of the mountain range at the back. Very, very subtle. Because I really, really hardly see it. Now I can see that my first line at the back should be a little bit lighter. So, or some, at least the ends of the trees there. So trying to mix a lighter gray color. Again, it has some purple and some gray in it. So as you can see, I'm not going into any detail at all. I'm just kind of indicating. Trying to add tiny touch of green to that, because there are some pine trees there. Yeah, so this is the, so as you can see, I'm painting different planes on horizon line. I don't know how well it will be seen, but I hope it will be noticeable. So now I'm going through the roofs of the houses at the back. The brightest ones I can see. Some of them are really bright, but not too bright. So using lots of white because it's snow, but they're not as bright as the one in front. So I'm just indicating the ridges of roofs that are the closest. And I'm cleaning my brush again and wiping it. Someone was asking how do I clean brush and how often I wipe it. So I'm trying to clean it as much as I can. So I just cleaned it and I'm wiping it on this paper towel. Sometimes I don't wipe it too much, so it would have some liquid in it. So now I'm going through the trees on this line. So I see some trees very dark, but they have some snow on them. So I'm using a little bit of white to kind of show some of the pine trees. And then there are some lighter trees. So I'm using this yellow ochre and a little bit of alizarin. Alizarin is a cooler but very strong color, so have to be careful with it. So I may tone it a little bit with blue. Just indicate some of those trees. Now my sun disappeared. Will come back, but it's just there's some darker areas there as well. And now I'm going to paint these trees in front. So this pine kind of goes like this. As you can see, I increased my value just to show the brightest branches in the front, so we know it's pine. And I'm going to do a darker part as well, just a little, because I lost it. Not too much. So that's one pine, and then there's another pine that is really dark at the bottom. And I'll go with my highlights for the snow on top of them as well. So I'm going to make it very, very bright, because you can see some snow really, really bright over there. So just not to overdo with, especially that I see it in the back. So, and also the roof of the tree probably will be very close. Sorry, not the roof of the tree, the roof that I can see in between. So I'm using white and cadmium yellow dip, touch cad yellow dip. So I'm using like really, really thick layer. So you can see that the layer at the back was thinner and the layer at the front is thicker. So this way, with texture, I'm showing the trees and the houses that closer to us. So I want to grab this one. This tree is very dark actually, and I can hardly see it, so I just going to use some blue, some paint gray, and a touch of brown, maybe a touch of green as well. That's kind of very bright but very dark, but actually it's good for me. Kind of shows me where I am on my value scale. Really, it's a high key painting. So the tree here, I can add more depth to it. And I'm sorry, I have to go and turn my timer. I'm making bread parallel. Sorry for interruption. Actually, I'm making sourdough bread, and every 30 minutes I have to turn it down in the bowl. So hopefully I finish painting and I'll continue with my bread. And if you're interested how to make sourdough bread, I'll do that video too. I'm kind of joking, but I have to focus on one thing at a time. But sometimes multitasking works. Not always though. So So there is nice shadow on this roof, very subtle shadow. I think it's from that tree that grows over there, so I'm just kind of indicating that little shadow on the, and then there is a light passing through here as well. So because it's snow winter painting, I made sure I squeeze loads of white on my panel, and I'm trying to wash my brush between shadows and the shadow colors, and in the light, otherwise I can lose my shadows very quickly or contaminate it with white. That's more like it. So let me just do a little indication on the roof here. So that's too dark, very dark. Need to clean up a little here. So I think it looks good. It kind of gives you idea for a sketch. It looks good for a sketch, not for a painting. It kind of gives you idea that it's winter and it's a frosty day, and we had lots of snow recently. What else I was going to do? So I think it's kind of, I'll go through here. That roof was a little different in terms of direction, how it's turned, but it really doesn't matter that much as long as you get the values right. So that's too blue for me, but actually it is very blue there. Maybe I'll leave it. Maybe I'll leave it. So my palette kind of moved more to the left, and I'm not sure if you leave it or you can see it. So making a little bit of purple color here, just very light purple, to see how the shadow goes on this roof. Just a little more, and then using more white to emphasize the ridge and the, because I could of course do more details and go through here and there, but the main thing is to give the idea of a snowy day and like how different gradations of the trees and roofs go in horizon line, and kind of when you look further you can see just roofs and trees and snow, nothing else. So I'm going to kind of now bring this value up, maybe just a tiny bit. Don't want to touch the mountains. So this is just one of the examples how to paint often and to improve your skills, for example in landscape painting, because this kind of gives you helps you to paint more often. And even if it doesn't look good or anything, you learn something from that painting. Like, it's not perfect, and I didn't plan to make it perfect. It just, I had inspiration, like all artists do, just to paint something nice. When you see from the window, bright colors. So this could be used, sketches like this could be used normally for paintings that could be bigger, more detail, or maybe not as much detail, but it, because it's painted from life, it helps you later to use the value and color structure for a bigger painting, or use it as a sketch that will remind you about some good time you had while you're painting. So anyway, it's 24 minutes, and I'm going to bring camera closer just to see wipe my hands first, just so you could see, because I'm not sure how well lighting in my kitchen. So I'm going to take this carefully and bring it. So this is the final painting. So I could see different areas, and this is just a small sketch. I may do another one later. And this is my palette. So really I worked with not many colors. For trees I used blues, greens, it's viridian, ultramarine, and browns I have here. And also used alizarin and ultramarine for purple, with addition again of brown or yellow ochre to tone it. And white for snow, the brightest parts I used titanium white and cadmium yellow dip. And then I also used that purple in the snow. And for sky I used white with some addition of yellow and with some blue notes. Actually I had, the color is called turquoise, fellow turquoise. It's a very strong color, but tiny bit of it goes a long way, and it's good for a sky color. So I hope you enjoy this painting, and I'll try to make a little short out of it as well, if it works. Okay, see you next time. I hope you enjoy this one. Is the same as still life. Sometimes I do landscapes, sometimes I do plein air, and hopefully in some I do more. And I still love my roses and other flowers. See you next time. Thank you for watching.